When I see the morning schmo on MSLSD, according to the schmoes at Politico, offering to host a TeaPartyMoveOn.org debate. The schmo. Still looking for your relevance. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the debate. Nobody cares if you moderate it. What do you think, Mika? Anyway, what else did we have here before I move on? Oh, this is a cool one. In Las Vegas, 41 NBC, most NASCAR drivers don't come to mind when you think of Las Vegas crime fighters, but then again, most NASCAR drivers aren't 69-year-old Morgan Sheppard. The veteran of 44 NASCAR seasons was getting out of his rental car in the parking lot of Walmart store Monday evening, just minutes away from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, just as three men burst from the store's entrance with security forces trailing behind. That's when Sheppard, a daily jogger and fitness perfectionist, sprang into action. I just got out and took off after them, Sheppard said. I caught one of them just as they were getting ready to hop a little wall at the end of the parking lot. I yanked him down and got on top of him. Sheppard said in a matter of seconds, a Las Vegas police officer pitched the ageless NASCAR driver a pair of handcuffs. How do you like this? And continued pursuit of the other two suspects. I love it. I cuffed him and sat on him. The police department officers showed up and asked if I could hold him a while longer while they ran down the others. I told him he's not going anywhere. Sheppard said while the young shoplifter pleaded with him to let him go and about the possibility of going to jail, Sheppard used the time to lecture the youth about his poor choices, and so forth. Here you go. You know, much has been said and written about the fear-mongering and scare tactics of those of us, many of you, who were well aware that with government control of health care, in fact, the quality of health care would be diminished. And Sarah Palin was much ridiculed for speaking the truth, for talking about death panels, her phrase, and she was correct. I want to bring you up to date on this drug, Avastin, so you understand exactly what we're talking about and why Obamacare needs to be killed before it does damage to us. Investors Business Daily, an outstanding editorial page. Sally Pipes, an outstanding lady. She's president and CEO and Taub Fellow in Healthcare Studies at the Pacific Research Institute. She writes, during the healthcare debate, few charges were more controversial than the one that government would decide who lives and who dies by rationing medical care. But based on a recent government healthcare ruling, I bet you didn't even know this, it looks as if that accusation wasn't such an exaggeration. In late December, the Food and Drug Administration moved to rescind the approval of a miracle drug that currently represents the last best hope for women in latter stages of breast cancer. Now, let's stop right there. How often are we lectured to and told by politicians and their favorite liberal constituency groups that we have to have regulations to protect us? So that's a given, right? Oh, yes, the more the better, the more, and particularly in health and safety. We need lots and lots of regulations. Well, what if these regulations deny you quality of life or longevity of life? And that's what we're talking about here. Each year, 17,500 women are treated with Avastin, a late-stage breast cancer drug that restricts blood flow to tumors, slowing their growth, shrinking them, sometimes even eliminating them. The drug typically extends a patient's life for a few months, but some super responders can go on living for years. Unfortunately, Avastin treatments for breast cancer can cost upwards of $90,000 a year. The government vociferously denies it, but almost no one in the medical community believes that the FDA's unprecedented decision to revoke Avastin's approval for the treatment of breast cancer only was completely unrelated to cost. In making recommendations, the FDA's Oncologic Drugs Advisory Committee is supposed to consider only clinical evidence. Yet one of its members, University of Nebraska oncologist Jean Grem, admitted that she was cognizant of the drug's hefty price tag. Women suffering from breast cancer have just one last shot at keeping Avastin a viable treatment option. Roche, the pharmaceutical company that makes Avastin, has begun the appeal process on the FDA's decision. The FDA's final ruling could come as soon as February. Got that? Well, it's February, and it hasn't come yet. While the appeal is underway, most insurers, including Medicare, will continue to cover Avastin. It appears that Medicare, though, is eager for a pretext to stop footing the bill for the drug. On January 6th, Palmetto GBA, one of the companies that determines regional Medicare coverage, posted a notice on its website stating that coverage of Avastin would cease to be offered to new breast cancer patients as of January 29. Its decision was quickly reversed because the FDA had given prior assurances that Medicare would continue to pay for the drug during the appeal process. If Palmetto hadn't changed course, though, breast cancer patients on Medicare in California, Hawaii, Nevada, Ohio, South Carolina, and West Virginia would have been out of luck. It's clear that government insurance programs such as Medicare and Medicaid will no longer cover Avastin if the FDA's ruling stands. So far, the government remains nearly alone in its belief that Avastin is not a legitimate breast cancer treatment. Both the Susan G. Komen Foundation and the Ovarian Cancer National Alliance have been publicly urging the FDA not to revoke its approval. So here we have people hanging in the balance, praying that this bureaucracy, a handful of people in this bureaucracy, don't cut their lives short. So far, the National Comprehensive Cancer Network, a nonprofit alliance of oncologists that produces treatment standards recognized in more than 100 countries, still supports the drug as a breast cancer treatment. Its support of the drug has thankfully persuaded a few insurers, such as WellPoint, to continue paying for Avastin, at least for the time being. The government drug rationing that begins with Avastin isn't going to stop with Avastin. Let me repeat. The government drug rationing that begins with Avastin isn't going to stop with Avastin. Dr. Donald Berwick, remember him, the Obama administration's recess appointee, heading up the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, has said that it's not a question of whether or not we will ration health care, but whether we will ration with our eyes open. Government drug rationing also threatens to have a dangerous impact on medical innovation. The reason Avastin is expensive is that Genentech, the division of Roche that developed it, spent $2.3 billion to research and develop the drug. If the federal government can arbitrarily decide not to pay for a drug based on its cost rather than its clinical effectiveness, pharmaceutical companies will be a lot less willing to spend billions and billions developing the next cutting-edge life-saving medicine. Sally Pipes, Pacific Research Institute. Now, a couple of points. Why am I the only one talking about this? Why aren't the big media in Obama's face, in the face of that Secretary of HHS, supercilious, jumping all over this issue? And Pipes is correct. This sets a precedent. We are going the way of the so-called NICE committee, or whatever they call it, over there in Britain, where they have various formulas, which includes cost, which includes age, which includes likelihood of survival, or quality of life, and all these other variables in determining whether or not they approve drugs and drug treatment. This is very, very serious. This is why we fight this Obamacare as thoroughly and on as many fronts as we possibly can. For the left, this is a ideological battle. For the left, this is a cause. For the left, it's a game. For the rest of us, we recognize this as life and death. You can have the best insurance policy on the face of the earth, and it won't matter if the FDA starts ruling out certain drugs. How come you liberal callers won't call in and talk about the most vulnerable about this issue? Women, mostly, late stages of breast cancer, where this drug is their only hope. They have to spend their last days fighting the bureaucracy, begging for help, praying that the wrong decision isn't made by a bureaucrat or a group of bureaucrats, calling their congressmen and senators, begging for help. Is this what we become? Is this who we become? I know the left has such little regard for life. Oh, yes, you do. Except your own, of course. But what about the rest of us? Is this the kind of society that we want? No, I don't think so. There's nothing compassionate about it. This is the soft tyranny I keep talking about. Look around you. You're living it. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Mike, Los Angeles, California, the great KABC. Go.
Mark, how you doing?
All right, my friend.
It's a pleasure to talk to you. I happen to be one of those ex-prisoners that listens to your show religiously.
Now, what did you do?
I was young. I did various things. I've been a libertarian all my life, so it was nothing political. It was just, you know, growing up right here in L.A., got myself in all sorts of stuff. What's changed my life a lot seems to be what's going on in the world. I got 3 children, and I'm actually scared what'll happen if I go away again, and with everything that's going on, there ain't no telling.
Well, that's all true. So now, you have 3 kids. Do you have a wife?
I have a wife. Yes, I do.
And you have a job?
I have a job. I drive from Orange County to L.A. I just drove back. It took me half an hour to talk to you.
Well, let me ask you a question. Hold on. Let me slow you down a second, because this is fascinating to me. So,
okay.
How old are you now?
I'm 30. Going to be 36.
All right. So when you had problems, you were what, teenager or a little bit older?
Nah, my 20s. Actually, I've spent about 10 years back and forth in the correction systems of California, the great correction systems that we have. And
But you're
I tell
all...
you that it's not too different. The law enforcement here and the correctional officers unions aren't too different from the criminals. It's a thin line here.
All right. I don't want to get trash law enforcement. Here's my question to you, because I'm fascinated with you. Because you can be a good example to a lot of kids out there. What sort of things did you do?
More of my charges have been gun charges.
Yeah. Gun running? Selling guns?
No, not selling guns. Mostly felon in possession of a firearm.
How about robbery?
Like that. Nah. When I was 18, after that I felt bad and I figured, taking innocent people's stuff isn't really my thing.
So what turned you around?
What turned me around is you get tired of it. You know what I mean? Some people don't get tired of it and end up doing their whole life in prison. Me, I look at the way the world's going, and somebody's got to do something. And I got these 3 kids, and I can't really afford to sit there and play the game any longer.
So
not as beneficial as it used to be. You know what I mean?
When's the last time you were in prison?
2 years ago. I've been out for 2 years. Hopefully they'll let me off parole in 1 more.
And you say you're kind of a libertarian.
Yeah, I've always been a libertarian.
Really?
I don't really believe in the Republican Party. I definitely don't believe in the liberals, as you call them. Some Republicans have. It just seems to me like they're the same thing.
I call them worse than that, but that's okay.
Yeah,
now,
be civil here.
I
talk to my father about this all the time, and to me, it's not a puzzle. I look at the Constitution. That's why I respect you a lot. Some of your views, but I understand where you're coming from, and compared to all the rest, you're on point. The Constitution and the framers of the Constitution. If you go by that piece of paper, there is no questions on where America should be or what is right and wrong. It tells you in all the amendments basically what you can and cannot do and where the government should stand and where you should stand and what you can do.
Mike, you're such an intelligent guy. Honestly, you were in prison 2 years. You're going to stay out of prison, right?
I hope so. I'm trying to become a landscaper right now. We have 2 meat markets, and I like plants, and I really just want to be a calm person and grow plants and do your yard. Design and put water features and nice things like that.
Well, listen to me. You know, let's just keep at it, man, because sounds to me like you've turned the corner here, you know?
Yeah, I believe I have. I actually believe I have. It's been a long time since I've been the way I am right now.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to send you a signed copy of Liberty and Tyranny if you promise me you're going to stay clean. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
All right, don't hang up. We'll send it off. We'll be right back.